Hi there. Welcome to the first podcast of the Nyack Village Voice. I'm Noah. Each week I'll be here sharing news and or views about life, the world, and, of course, Nyack. But today is just an introduction and, well, maybe a little bit of a love letter. I grew up in Nyack. I was gone for a really long time, and so it's great to be back. I'm really inspired. I actually lived in Valley Cottage when I was young, but always considered myself as being from Nyack. Not that there's anything wrong with Valley Cottage, it's lovely, but my formative schooling years, junior high and high school, were here. Nyack is where I hung out, where I performed and crewed at Elmwood Playhouse, pumped gas at the station that used to be next to the old Hilltop restaurant, was a dishwasher, cook, bartender, and eventually a musician at the office, where I spent some time managing the old Raoul's long before it was the wonderful Hudson House, to name just a few things. This town feels like... No, this town is home to me, in a way nowhere else I have been has felt. As a man in my mid to late 20s, I left Nyack, first moving to Queens, then Brooklyn, then making the cross-country trek to Los Angeles, where I spent most of the next 12 years, but for 2 years in San Francisco. Then it was a 5-year stint in Wilmington, North Carolina. Then it was back to L.A. for another 3.5 years. Mad love and props to Santa Monica in West L.A. If you're listening, you know who you are. When I came home last August, the sensation of absence for having been gone really hit me. Sure, I didn't recognize or know nearly as many people as I used to, but that seemed just like an opportunity to make new connections. Even the dozens of people who continually mistake me for one of my older brothers. But it was the tree-tunneled streets, the broad tidal Hudson, the brick and mortar, the wonderful Victorian architecture that I felt welcomed me home, as did some amazing longtime friends. The temperament here is still much the same as I remembered it. Cool, eclectic, funky, maybe a little more funky in some places, but Nyack is still artsy and craftsy and just completely beautiful. And the restaurants, don't get me started. This past autumn and accompanying winter were the first real seasonal changes I'd experienced in about 20 years. The seasons in L.A. are not nearly as distinct, but here, the colors, the cool air, the festive atmosphere from Halloween through New Year's felt so good. And the first snow, that nor'easter right after Hurricane Sandy, made me feel like a kid again, nose perched on the windowsill, watching the flakes fall to the ground, listening to WRKL, hoping to hear Nyack Public Schools on the list of closings so I could go play football in the snow with my neighborhood friends. And I felt that way every time it snowed this winter. I was a bit sad to see it go. There's some pics here with this podcast. We've got sunrise over Westchester, some autumnal Victorian splendor, a little something I call snow on chairs, a winter tree just outside of Hudson House, a particularly sweet sunset, and of course, Max, the cat, and a pic of me and Stella. Stella! You probably know her. And now, spring is upon us, and with that, a new flourishing, a rebirth, which for me is both a poetic representation and fundamentally true. So thank you, Nyack, for welcoming me home. Thank you to my friends with whom I've reconnected and found community. I don't know where the road is going, but I'm excited to find out. I'd also like to thank Dave Z and the good folks here at Nyack News and Views for being my digital home base. You can find me through the myriad links underneath my mugshot. Like, follow, tumble, tweet, go for it. I'll be back next week with a new topic and probably a longer version of the podcast. But for now, I'll bid you farewell until next time. Drop me a line with any comments or questions. And be kind to those around you and to yourself. This has been the Nyack Village Voice with Noah. Thanks for listening.